All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to break down a framework I've been thinking about called AI cognitive arithmetic. It's really just a way to understand what's actually going on when we use AI and, why the results can be so wildly different from person to person. So, this is the foundational premise, right? You can't think of AI as some separate thinking brain. It's much more like a massive amplifier. It takes whatever you bring to the table, your curiosity, your biases, your questions, and it just blows it up. It doesn't invent intelligence from scratch. It multiplies the intelligence it runs into. So, yeah, let's put a name to this thing. AI cognitive arithmetic. Think of it as a simple mental math we can do to kind of predict the outcome of this dance we're all doing with these new tools. And it all starts with the two big variables in the equation: you, the human, and the machine. Okay, so first up, there's the human element, us. On one side, you have what we'll call a positive input. That's curiosity, humility, a willingness to think critically. And on the other side? Well, that's the negative input, ego, tribalism, that feeling of being so morally certain that you just can't be challenged. This is our starting variable. And then you've got the AI. Now, it's not good or evil, it just has a polarity depending on how you use it. Its positive function is when it reflects and expands on what you're thinking. Its negative function is when it pushes back, when it challenges you or disagrees. And here's the key: neither one is automatically better. It all depends on how they mix. So this is where it all comes together. Let's see how this math actually works out. A positive human and a positive AI, boom, creative acceleration. Your ideas get supercharged. But what about a negative human with that same positive AI? That's what I call amplified decay. It's delusion on an industrial scale. And now look at the bottom two. This is where it gets really interesting. A negative human meets a negative, challenging AI. That could just be ugly conflict, or it could be a moment of catharsis, a breakthrough. And a positive, curious human who runs into a challenging AI. That could lead to incredible refinement of their ideas, or it could just erode their confidence completely. See? It all depends.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's that AI just multiplies what's already there. If you have a good mind, it gets sharper. If you have a defensive mind, it just gets louder. You get a super intelligent echo chamber. And maybe the most dangerous one. If you're kind of confused but you think you're being profound, AI can spin up this feedback loop that convinces you you're a genius.
So that was the equation. Seems pretty clean, right? For a while, I thought, okay, this is it. This model explains everything. But I was missing something huge, something that kind of flips the whole thing on its head. And it's this. This math. It isn't a law of physics. It's not exact at all. It's probabilistic. It's all about what's likely to happen, not what's certain to happen. And why is that? Well, because neither of the variables, us or the machines, are constants. We fluctuate, right? We get tired, we get inspired, we feel lonely. A total cynic can certainly have a moment of clarity. A visionary can have a complete breakdown. And the AI models themselves? They're changing constantly, and every time they evolve, they reshape us a little bit too. Nothing is ever fixed in place. And that's when it hit me. A much better metaphor. These aren't rigid laws. They're more like weather patterns of consciousness. They're dynamic, they're always shifting, and they're incredibly complex. So we're basically shifting our thinking from math to meteorology. The old model was a fixed equation, but the new model, it's a dynamic forecast. So if a positive human engages a positive AI, the forecast is a high chance of creativity. A negative human meets that same AI, the forecast is probably noise. But what's the most important thing about a weather forecast? The weather can change, and so can we. Which brings us to what I think is the single most important idea in this whole thing. AI isn't a replacement, it's our reflection. It's a mirror. It just shows us who we are in that exact moment. See, it's not taking your power away, it's just amplifying you. If you bring small, petty, closed-off thoughts to it, it's going to make them feel even smaller. But if you show up with expansive, curious, world-changing ideas, man, it will give them wings. And look, let's be totally honest with ourselves. None of this is really new, is it? Long before any of these large language models showed up, the internet was already just overflowing with human slop. Tribal fights, cheap sarcasm, people just shouting at each other from a place of absolute certainty. No way. AI didn't invent any of that. It just ingested all of that raw human data, processed it, and held up a mirror that is sharper and clearer than anything we've ever seen before.
So before we all get caught up in the panic about the technology, the robots are coming, misinformation is going to destroy everything, let's just pause for a second and turn that mirror around. You've got to ask yourself a much simpler question, but maybe a harder one. What are you multiplying? When you sit down to use this thing, what are you bringing to the conversation? Because really, when you get down to it, there are only two ways this can go. If you start with self-awareness, this technology becomes this absolutely incredible tool for expanding your range of thinking. But if you start with arrogance, it just becomes a megaphone for your own blind spots. Either way, it shows you something true about yourself.
And that brings me to my last point. And this one's for the comments section. Look, if you watched all this and you want to challenge the substance of the ideas, please bring it. Bring better ideas, bring nuance. I will always, always respect that. But if you just skipped through, barely listened, and you're about to drop some lazy, cynical one-liner just to feel clever, well, congratulations, you just became a live demo of the exact point this entire thing is making.
Look, at the end of the day, it really is this simple. You're either using this reflection to evolve, to see yourself more clearly and to grow, or you're just standing there arguing with the mirror. Choose wisely.